from the modern hostels I was used to. My room was small, with a single bed, a rickety wooden desk, and a small window overlooking a dense forest. I settled in, trying to ignore the musty smell and the eerie silence that engulfed the place. The first night was uneventful. I awoke to the sound of birds chirping outside my window, feeling refreshed and ready to explore the city. But as the days passed, strange occurrences began to unfold. I would often hear whispers in the middle of the night, soft and indistinct, like the rustling of leaves. I dismissed it as the wind, but the feeling of being watched never left me. One night I was awoken by a loud thud. I sat up, my heart pounding in my chest, trying to identify the source of the noise. I peered out of my window, expecting to see a fallen branch or perhaps a nocturnal animal. Instead, I saw a figure standing in the middle of the forest, staring up at my window. Its face was concealed by darkness, but I could feel its gaze upon me. I quickly drew the curtains and retreated back into bed, my body trembling with fear. Days turned into weeks, and the strange occurrences only intensified. The whispers I heard at night grew louder, almost as if they were right beside me. I would often wake up to find my belongings scattered across the room, as if someone had been rummaging through them. I began to avoid the other guests, convinced that one of them was behind the bizarre happenings. One evening, while exploring the hostel, I stumbled upon an old library filled with dusty books and ancient artifacts. In the corner of the room, I noticed a large, leather-bound book titled The History of the Moth-Eaten Hostel. Intrigued, I sat down and began to read. The hostel, I discovered, had a dark past. It was built in the 1800s and had served as a mental asylum in its early years. The patients were subjected to cruel and inhumane treatments, leading many to lose their sanity. The hostel was eventually shut down, and the patients were moved to other facilities. However, the spirits of the tormented souls remained, trapped within the walls of the hostel. I closed the book, my hands trembling as the horrifying reality of the situation dawned upon me. I was living in a haunted hostel, surrounded by the restless spirits of the insane. The whispers I heard at night were their voices, their pleas for help and mercy. The figure I saw in the forest was a patient, eternally trapped in the realm of the living. I packed my bags that very night, my heart pounding with terror. I knew I couldn't stay in that hellhole any longer. As I walked out of the hostel, I felt a strange sense of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from my shoulders. The horrors of the moth-eaten hostel were behind me, and I vowed never to stay in a cheap hostel again. From that day forward, I became a changed traveler. I no longer sought out the cheapest accommodations available, but instead opted for well-reviewed and reputable places to stay. I had learned my lesson the hard way, and I would never fall prey to the horrors of a haunted hostel again. As I traveled to new destinations, I would often hear stories of the moth-eaten hostel, its haunted history, and the tormented souls that resided within its walls. I would shudder at the memories, thankful that I had managed to escape its